What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Drone Camps channel. 11 years on YouTube making FPV drone videos. I'm Justin Davis, and today, well, I have something brand new from Sub250. This is a company that, like its name, they make quads under 250 grams. So if you're looking for a drone that you can fly in your backyard, maybe out in the ballpark or close to a park by your house, things like that, this little Nimble65 came out about a month ago now, and it's pretty quiet. And it's not going to kind of disturb a lot of people when you go out and fly it. It is a little 1S 300 milliamp battery on here. We're going to fly that outdoors today. I'm going to fly it two different ways for you. I'm going to fly it a little bit slower, bringing that camera angle down. And if we raise it up, then after that, we're going to do a little bit of FPV freestyle with it. And, you know, if you had watched the last video on the Nimble65, you'll probably remember that this thing was pretty nimble, but at the same time, you can lower that camera down to almost horizontal, you know, completely at 0 degrees, and you can fly a lot slower. So if you're brand new to this hobby, welcome to the channel, and welcome to FPV drones in 2025. This is going to be a great year, and it's cool to see it that there are analog drones still out there. So let's get out there together. Let's go outside, you and me, and we'll do some FPV freestyle and a little kind of slower flying around the yard, just to give you a feel for what this little Nimble65 ready to fly kit's all about. I'm going to fly it on the transmitter, and we're going to record some DVR in the goggles as well and show you some of that flight footage. After that, we'll come back to the bench. We'll check it out together. Here we go. All right, my friend, welcome back from the flight test. This is everything you get in the Nimble65 Ready to Fly kit. Everything you need to fly, all in one box. It comes along with the radio, the FPV goggles. These are analog FPV goggles with diversity and onboard DVR as well. And the inside screen, it is a flat screen. It's not the binocular style screen. The Nimble65. I got some batteries with it, and I think you'll get 2 batteries with your Sub250 Ready to Fly kit. And I always recommend the V-Fly Whoopstor 3. This is a 6-in-1 charger, and it charges 6 of these HV LiPos at once. So these HV LiPos, it charges up to 4.35 volt per cell. And these are only one cell, so it doesn't take a whole lot of time to charge them. As a matter of fact, by the time I have flown a battery, I've got other batteries pretty much ready on the charger. So you just continuously keep that cycle going, and it's a lot of fun. You can fly pretty much half or all the afternoon. Sub250's little Nimble65 on the scale with the brushless motors, and everything on here weighs 21.4 grams. Now, if I add the 1S 300 milliamp battery on there to this equation, that's going to bring us up to right around 29.7 grams total takeoff weight. Now, this particular drone also comes with the ELRS transmitter. You do have an arm button here. We have modes on Auxiliary 2. You can also add turtle mode that will make the drone flip back over if it gets turned over upside down and you're on a flat surface. It'll right itself, which is pretty cool. And you have a beeper switch on here as well. And this is running 2.4. It has a foldable antenna. It also has setup and bind buttons on the back right here. So you can use this transmitter on other ELRS drones as long as the firmware matches up on the radio and the receiver on the drone. Now, the drone also has ELRS receiver. It's built into the flight controller, and that's an SPI receiver. Now, one other thing I like about this radio, I love this, the fact that it does have a battery tray in here that could be swappable for something like a larger radio. You just pull the radio batteries out of your larger radio, put them right in here. These are Lion 1S 2500 milliamp batteries, and there's a 2S plug that plugs in right here, and this will pretty much give you just about an entire day's worth of flying on this radio versus some of the other internal ready to fly LiPo batteries that are in some of the other kits. This one gives you a little bit longer battery life. So this little quad, it is a 65 millimeter wheelbase on here, and it was pretty cold when I flight test this little quad today out in the backyard, and I did have a super big hit on the front end of the quad. I mean, I was flying up over the house, came back around and just smacked a tree, and I ended up breaking the front 2 prop guards on here. So you can see this one's broken right here, and this one's broken. Now, it's about 30 some, maybe 37 degrees outside. There's kind of a cold snap going across the US. You got to know about the plastics that these companies choose. Sometimes when it's colder, plastic will break. It becomes brittle in the cold, and you can have a frame failure. Now, I guess the cool thing about this is that the frames are pretty cheap on Sub250's website. So what I would do, give you some advice. If you buy this kit, go ahead and get yourself, say, 2 extra frames. And along with that, you know, a handful of props, extra props with it in case you have some props fly off. And maybe just for funsies, a few different color canopies, because they do sell different color canopies. The other Nimble65s we saw came in 3 different colors. They were green, purple, and pink. And as far as I know, on the spec side of things, it's pretty much the same quad as the other Nimble65s you saw come out. This one is just for guys who want to pick up a box that has everything in it with a case and be able to just kind of fly it as it is out of the box, not having to buy any extras. The original version was for guys that already have a radio. Now, if we look on the bottom right here, you can see that it is plug-and-play motors. And I like to call them plug-and-play motors because if you break one or blow out a motor, then you can unplug it and plug a new one back in and not have to solder these 3 wires on each motor down to the flight controller. As far as tiny whoops go, this makes your life a lot easier. Trust me on that, because some of the soldering tabs on some of these smaller flight controllers, they are super tiny, and really, you know, you have to have a microscope to be able to solder those back on. And sometimes if you bridge a tab, you fry the controller, the flight controller, and the motor itself. So one other tip I would give you guys is go ahead and twist these wires up. I thought the wires were a little bit long out of the box, and sometimes the wires got up into the props. When I went to take off, it would give me kind of a clanking noise. So watch out for that. The other cable on the back. We got Sub 250's version of the A20 connector back here. This plugs into your Sub 250 1S battery that I showed you before. This one probably gets you about 3 minutes flight time if you're kind of cruising and going slow. Now, as far as the flight controller itself, it is the Red Fox A1 with 5 amp ESCs on this quad that are built into it, along with that built-in receiver. And back here, we have the USB connector for Betaflight. Plugs right into Betaflight for the Mac or PC. And this is running Betaflight 4.5.1. What's pretty cool about it is Sub 250 has their own Betaflight target now for flashing this particular flight controller. It's called Sub 250 F411 X1280 STM32 F411 flight controller. Now, as far as the power system, 5 amp ESCs are running these 0702 motors. These are, like I said, they are kind of motored down from the original 0802s, which kind of pulled a little bit too much power out of the battery and amps out of the system. So we went down a motor size this year, and that really helps us give a little more efficiency while kind of keeping the same power, which is kind of nice. So now we have some 27,000 kV motors. They're pretty hopped up, so I will get you quite a bit of power on the top end of the throttle when you're coming back around from those freestyle maneuvers and you need to power out before you bottom out. Now up front, I know some of you guys will be asking, what's under the canopy for the camera? This is the Cadex Ant, and this is tiltable up to about 35 degrees, almost close to 40 there. So you can get a lot of speed indoors if you're doing FPV racing, or get the camera way up high if you're doing FPV freestyle. Coming back around from those loops makes it a little easier to see where you're going when you have more camera tilt. We do have a bolt on each side of the camera. This is an M2 bolt. To loosen that up, you can loosen that up and then adjust your camera angle, or you can do it with your fingers, which I do sometimes, but be careful you don't scratch your lens or get dirt on the lens. You also have a 100 milliwatt VTX on this as well, which is kind of nice. So I was able to get in the far back reaches of the yard to get by the fence with my diversity goggles from SkyZone. Those are the SkyZone 04Xs, by the way, if you're wondering. This little dipole comes out the top back here, and there's not a lot of room coming out of there. But the cool thing about this is durability-wise, this canopy survived that hard frontal impact that I had where I busted these. Now, speaking of that, if that happens to you guys, you already bought a Nimble65 and you broke these, you're probably well aware that, well, you can keep flying. After that happened, I just kept flying because that was my freestyle test. I started flying at freestyle first because it had such a great power to weight ratio. I just wanted to fly freestyle before I was doing any kind of slow flying. So I just wanted to have some fun, and maybe I had a little bit too much fun on that flight. So this is the case that they sent me, which I thought was pretty decent. It does kind of have this like soft canvas exterior to it. It's nice little detail. They put the Sub 250 logo on the outside. I've got the zipper, which goes all the way around. It does have kind of a rubber coating on top of the zipper, which is nice. It says Sub 250 here. If we open that up, you can see everything pretty much fits inside here pretty easily. So I have my accessories up top, and I also have a charger in here that I didn't show you. It comes along with a charger, and you can charge that with a USB-C cable. If you plug that into, say, a USB-C AC adapter, then you're charging your batteries. And it does have that sort of A20 connector here, the PH 2.0 connector on that side. So you have two options of types of batteries, and you have two ports on this, one on this side and one on this side, which is kind of cool. It doesn't have a built-in fan, but it does have a heat sink in here to kind of keep things cool while you're charging your 1S battery. So start out with this one and then move up to the V-Fly Whoopstor 3, so you can charge 6 at once, and you can charge standard and HV LiPos with that one. And that one has 3 different power source options, which I love: XT60, USB-C, and that barrel port connector for like 12 volt AC adapter. So you have the goggles here. We have the controller fits in there, and the drone goes just underneath where the controller goes. And then you have a pouch here, as well as a mesh pouch up top. And that's pretty much all there is to the case. So, let's talk about some final thoughts. My final thoughts about this kit. I think it's cool that they came out with the ready-to-fly version of the Nimble65, because a lot of people seem to like it in the FPV community. So it's kind of natural that they ended up doing this. Very similar to Emacs making the Tiny Hawk. I know some of you guys are probably going to be like, should I get a Tiny Hawk? Should I get the Nimble65? The Nimble65, by the name, it's just going to be faster and probably have more room to grow versus the Tiny Hawk, unless you get like the freestyle version of the Tiny Hawk, which is super crazy awesome for freestyle. Some people love it, and it depends on what you want to do. If you want to start out as the like the ultimate beginner FPV drone package, this one's perfect for that, because you don't have to buy a radio, you don't have to buy goggles, and the goggles are decent enough, and they're not something that you're going to get and be like, oh god, I can't record my flights, which is the case with some of the other ready to flies out there. If you buy something else, just make sure that it has a DVR on there, because I would like to record my videos and be able to look back and see how well I did on my run. Or if I crashed out in the backyard somewhere and I couldn't find it, it's always good to have DVR of every single flight. That way, if you lose it in the weeds somewhere, you can see where it kind of went in the general area. Rewind that inside the playback, and then you can kind of find it a lot easier. So I've had to use my DVR in the past, and I always told all my buddies in the very beginning of flying FPV together, always record every single flight, no matter what. Always have room on your SD card when you go out to fly. So this one's going to be a pretty decent price, though, for what it is. I'll put the link down below for the VFly Whoopstor 3 if you guys want to pick that up. It is an affiliate link. I'm not ashamed to use those, because I love you guys, and you don't mind supporting the channel, so I appreciate that. But also the link for the Nimble65 Ready to Fly, a brand new Ready to Fly kit for 2025. I think it's going to be a great year, and this is just adding more fun to the hobby and the community, and hopefully it brings new people into the hobby. If you're somebody that's brand new, welcome to the hobby, and welcome to one of the channels that have gotten a lot of you guys started in this hobby. And I'm not ashamed to say that. I am a beginner to intermediate channel, and we just have the most fun here. So welcome to the hobby, welcome to my channel, and keep your interest in FPV going. Grab one of these if you'd like to. I'll try to find a discount code for you if I can. All right, guys, that's all for now. Nimble65 Ready to Fly. It's out there. Go grab one. I will see you on the next one. Take care.